And welcome back to the Constitutionals podcast. If you didn't know, this is the only podcast for the website cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. I'm your host, Chad White. And I only kind of messed up the intro for this, a very special episode of the Constitutionals. If you've been listening for a very long time, you know that this is episode 100. And if you have been listening for a very long time, you are also lying to me because I've seen the listens. I know the subscriber count. I got all that information sitting in the back of my, I was going to say throat. Didn't make sense. Head. If you're watching this show, if you're watching this on youtube.com/cpluscomedy or the website cpluscomedy.com, you may see that I am wearing a suit. Got my shirt and tie and everything. I even got the shoes and the socks on. Before that, not even 5 minutes ago, I was in gym shorts and a t-shirt. Something I don't let people see me in a lot, unless you go to the gym. So, there you go. This is a very special episode, as I said before. This is the 100th episode of the Constitutionals. I'm turning down the microphone because I did see myself as peaking. Oh, before we get started, I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about this or not. Very sad news I got that a friend had passed away months ago, but none of us knew about it. His name is Kevin Chang. Very nice guy. Very smart, wonderful, just one of my favorite people in the world. Sad to hear that happened. I don't even know. I don't know the words to say. I'd known him since high school. He was in grad school, or I'm sorry, he was just finishing college. Yeah, we bonded over video games. We were a very strange couple of friends. A very, very odd set. Like, just me and my bumbling self, and then this short little Asian boy. One of my favorite people in the world. Sad to hear that he passed, and I hope his soul's at peace, at rest, and I hope his family is okay with it. But it happened months ago. I only found out because I went to, go check his Steam account because he wasn't on, and saw on his comments that a bunch of people had posted ripped, followed a link to a gaming forum where somebody had linked to a WSB news article about it. They didn't mention his name, but I saw his house that they had in the video story. And that is when I knew, and I called a friend immediately. Like as soon as I even saw the rips on the Steam, I called a friend immediately, contacted a bunch of people. It's very sad. Definitely, he was on his way to do some amazing things. He was applying to jobs. And he was about to graduate too. Like he was going to graduate in December, and he passed away. I think right around Thanksgiving, like the end of November. So, but this episode, 100 episode special, is dedicated to Kevin Chang, and he will be missed. So, thank you for listening to that. If you want to hear any more stories about Kevin Chang, I've got way more, and I know you don't want to hear him because anyway. So. Let's get on with today's episode. It's going to be the same episode. It's just going to be me in a suit. If you're listening to the audio version, there's nothing else new going on. It's just me in a suit. Let's go on. Comedy Central has a new YouTube channel. This is a very interesting topic here. Comedy Central has been trying to find, or really Viacom, if anything, Comedy Central has been trying to find ways to have new creators make new things, or just have new outlets to make new shows and everything. Their YouTube channel is, I would say it's a success, but the YouTube channel proper for Comedy Central is, I would say, a success because they just upload the regular things that they have for Comedy Central. Like they upload Key and Peele sketches, or they upload segments of Drunk History, which is, if you've ever seen Drunk History, it's 3 stories told by 3 drunk comedians, reenacted by a litany of famous people. And Craig Kukowski, who is semi-famous. It's only for the alt comedy people out there. But it's cool to it's good that they're doing this. Now they're reaching out. Let's get into what this is. So Comedy Central, this is from Variety. This is an article written by Todd Spangler. Old Spangs. Comedy Central launches YouTube channel for original series and specials. The Viacom-owned brand is touting the new Comedy Central Originals YouTube channel as a, quote, one-stop shop for the very best digital original comedy. The channel came about last week when I was recording this. So it popped up then. I guess they just renamed one of their channels because they have a pretty deep subscriber base already. But it's really interesting that they have this stuff. They have videos from YouTube creators already. They already have a series called Blark and Son, which is a very odd-looking puppet series that is very scary, and I can't believe people watch this. But I think it was already a channel that existed, but they just renamed it officially. And it features a slate of new and returning series, stand-up and social content, which is my favorite thing, social content. Again, look at Comedy Central if you want to hire me to have a very crappy version of The Daily Show. I will give you news time. I don't even sell it. I'll just give it to you. So there's going to be 5 new pieces of things weekly, 5 new videos weekly, essentially. So there we go. One of my favorite things is that this is it gives people who are essentially me, people who are young and vibrant and ready to thrive. Excuse me, but they give people, like, if you ever seen a YouTube video, I'm adjusting the mic and it's going to be very annoying for a second. There's a guy named Gus Johnson, for instance. He is now making videos with Comedy Central. And so that's going to be really cool to see. Gus he's been working on his own YouTube channel for years, but I just got into him maybe 6 months ago, and he's a very funny person. Now the mic is too high. You think after 100 episodes I would understand how to control the microphone. The first special coming out on March 8th will be, cool. Emily Heller Thick Ice Thickeners. Funny. It's a 1-hour special, and it's exclusively on there. This is for International Women's Day. That was really nice. Happy International Women's Day. Women's Day. This is not the first time that they've done something like this. They've done Snapchat. That's how James Davis, I think that's his name, James Davis, because that is the fake name that I use for a lot of things. Yes, James Davis. That's how he came about. I think that's where he had like a show on Snapchat, and Comedy Central's been open to doing digital stuff all the time. They had that Snapchat show. I think they have like a bunch of other, Snapchat shows. They also do the Daily Show for Snapchat. The Daily Show's everywhere. If you can anywhere, you can get it. Anywhere that you have ears and video, you can get it. You can get it. It's in podcast form. It's in YouTube form. What else? What else is there? There was for their Emmy consideration, they had, and I think this is like 2 or 3 years ago, but they did it for like 2-3 years straight. So they maybe did it up until this year. They had very special Emmy consideration videos on their Snapchats and everything. Very strange. I mean, very good, very cool. They have a bunch of new series coming. One already, a few already started, of course, obviously, but. You can definitely see that they are putting a lot of backing into this. There's a new show called After Hours where, a host will sit down with celebrities like Tiffany Haddish, Liam Hemsworth. Oh, wow. Jesus. Benedict Cumberbatch, Anna Kendrick. And they talk to people, stuff like that. Just a whole bunch of things. And all of these people come from the Creators Program, which is an in-house team of comedians and writers that formed last year. Hey, I'm right here. Come on. I'm a writer. I wouldn't call myself a comedian. Very sad if I do that. Moving on, we're going to talk about Annapurna. So Annapurna is a movie studio that was created by the daughter of a very famous, I think he's a director or something like that, Annapurna. I did a story about this on News Time. So this is very sad that I don't know. Megan Ellison. There we go. Megan Ellison is her name, and she is the daughter of, I want to say, Larry Ellison. Okay. So Annapurna is just like your A24s. It's just like your 21st Century Foxes, your Focus Features. It is an indie filmmaking movie studio or TV show studio as well too. I think they do TV shows. Yeah, they do. They do TV shows. They do TV. I don't know. They've done movies like Detroit Sausage Party. Let's see, The Bad Batch, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Vice, and other movies, of the like. If you've just go look them up. They've done a lot of movies. Joy, American Hustle, Her, Spring Breakers. I'll stop. Zero Dark 30. I'll stop. I own that Blu-ray. I own Zero Dark 30 on Blu-ray. I bought it maybe 2.5 years ago, and I said I was going to watch it, and I never did. There's maybe 6 Blu-rays I own that I've never seen, but I own, like Warrior. I think I've mentioned this before. Who cares? This comes from IndieWire. Annapurna lost at least $8 million on Beale Street. Vice was a $15 million bomb. This is from Jack Scharf. Annapurna, they won 2 Oscars, but this new report from Variety said that they had a tough holiday season. They had 3 movies on Christmas Day. If Beale Street Could Talk by Barry Jenkins, Destroyer from Karen Kusama, and Vice from Adam McKay. None of them did well. Vice lost at least $15 million for them, which is, it was, I wouldn't say a critical darling, but it was recognized at multiple award shows and this and that, but it just didn't perform well. A lot of sources saying it's closer to 20 million, but whatever. Beale Street lost 8 to 10 million, and Destroyer lost 7 million. I think that Destroyer was I guess like a horror movie, something. It's in my Redbox. I'll see it in a month or so. But these movies could, Destroyer and Beale Street and Vice, they were all well regarded. They were all, if you really care about this, the microphone keeps slipping downwards. If you all really care about Rotten Tomatoes scores, they all got amazing Rotten Tomatoes scores. I think Vice is at 69%. Beale Street was probably even higher. Definitely even higher. It's Beale Street. So those movies may have performed poorly at the box office. The only movie that performed well enough for them was Sorry to Bother You, which is the only one that wasn't nominated for a freaking award. All right, anyway. The studio opened The Sisters Brothers, starring John C. Reilly and somebody else, in theaters last September, but it did not make it past. It barely made it past the $1 million mark, despite having a $38 million budget. Oh, one reason that Vice lost so much for Annapurna is that it cost $65 million to make. All those scenes that they didn't use. I saw a scene that is probably going to be on the Blu-ray, but it was on Rolling Stone, but I watched it via IndieWire. Adam McKay had been talking about this musical dance number that they shot, but they just didn't use. I watched it, and while it looks simple, it was probably expensive and timely and time consuming. It wasn't timely. Annapurna's got a long ways to go. You can definitely watch. I will link to it. The episode of News Time I did. News Time is a weekly news show. It's like the Daily Show, but less funny. And I did an episode about A24, Annapurna, and a bunch of Focus Features and a bunch of other indie. I did 2 episodes. I held up the number 3, but I did 2 episodes. I swear I'm not stupid. So I will link to that, and you will be able to see that. This really sticks because Annapurna is a wonderful, wonderful production company. They've done a ton of movies that I enjoy. A lot of Weinstein Company movies. It was in 2012. It was before anyone knew or cared. Isn't that interesting? I'm not going to say anything else. I will just make the joke and I will continue to move along. Oh my gosh. They also did video games. What Remains of Edith Finch, the PlayStation Plus game I got for free and have not played. I think my PlayStation Plus ran out anyway, so it doesn't matter. But Annapurna is it's losing so much money because you can have, in this day and age where a streamer like Netflix or a network like, I don't want to say HBO, or Netflix or CBS, they could have something that's critically just not panned, but not liked by everybody. But as long as it's getting views, they don't care. I would venture to say as much. I don't know, maybe Happy Together. Is that what it's called? Happy Together on CBS? I keep bringing this up. Happy Together. I don't think that's what it's called. I think that's the show that's going to get canceled. Yes, that's the Damon Wayans one. That's the one that might get canceled. The Neighborhood. The Neighborhood is the TV show that stars Cedric the Entertainer, Beth Burrs, Max Greenfield, to China Arnold, a bunch of really great, talented, funny people, and it's just another CBS sitcom. But Jesus, I pulled up The Neighborhood, the movie. That's not what I wanted, you idiot. It's got way worse reviews. The Neighborhood, the show, it has way worse reviews than Happy Together, but one of them is getting better views, and that is The Neighborhood, which means it has gotten picked up for a second season. It is gotten picked up for a second season. And it sucks we live in this world where that stuff can happen. So, anyway, listen. That was it for this first half. I'm going to take a real quick break. I'll get up. I'm going to adjust my tie. And then we'll get on to the main crux of this episode. Thank you for listening. I very much appreciate it. We'll be back after this. 2, 1. Welcome back to the episode of Your Choosing. I forgot to bring my phone over for the ever so important timer to get me moving through all of this. I want to do a long episode, but then I just thought, what's the point in doing a long episode for this 100 episode? I should do a long episode when I feel like it. So let's get moving on to this stuff. So if you've heard recently, in the past week, there have been a lot of movements in the music streaming industry. And a lot of movements that have pissed off a lot of big companies, such as Spotify. Just got a little notification from ESPN. I thought it was a phone call. I jumped, and now I look like an idiot. So, last week, this is from Billboard. If it loads up at some point, I will keep talking. Jesus, Chad. Last week, there was a Supreme Court ruling. I'm sorry. No, not a ruling. There was a question that was going to be posed to the Supreme Court that about resales of digital music files. So let's get into it. Eric Gardner. This comes from Billboard. Eric Gardner. Redigi is now before the U.S. Supreme Court in a legal battle over the reselling of digitized copyrighted works. The company, which attempted to launch an online marketplace for secondhand iTunes songs, has written a letter to the Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg requesting an extension to May 13th to file its cert petition. So here's the question. Now here's a bunch of questions. This is from Brian Lipkin, an attorney at Babs Calland, who's working for Redigi, I guess. They say, quote, these questions include whether, under the first sale doctrine, a person who lawfully acquires a digital file through the internet has the right to resell it. So that means if you buy an album that you don't like, then, and I think this is what I think is the pertinent information, is you have to buy it. The operative word is buy. Then you're able to just say, hey, I'm done. I don't want to listen to this album anymore. I'm going to give it away. Give it away. Give it away now. That is from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I will see myself out. Okay. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals ruled last December that Redigi was engaging in authorized reproduction when transferring digital files from one user to another. Second Circuit Judge Pierre Laval rejected Redigi's defense at the first sale doctrine, which once ushered in an era of used bookstores and secondhand record shops, provided cover for Redigi's business as the process of transferring digital files necessitates the making of copies of original works. It's very interesting. This is the first time I'm really getting into the story. I read the article last week, but this is the first time I'm really getting into the story. So then they did a petition, and they're hopefully going to be able to do this, hopefully for them. I don't know. Streaming is so prevalent, but Yeah, it's whatever. But this next article comes from Variety. This is kind of in the same wheelhouse. Spotify, Google, Pandora, Amazon go to U.S. appeals court to overturn royalty increase. This is from Variety. Written by Jim Swad and Chris Woman. Those companies have teamed up to appeal a controversial ruling by the U.S. Copyright Royalty Board that, if it goes through, would increase payouts to songwriters by 44%, Variety has learned. This is their joint statement. Quote, the Copyright Royalty Board, CRB, in a split decision recently issued the U.S. mechanical statutory rates in a manner that raises serious procedural and substantive concerns. If left to stand, the CRB's decision harms both music licensees and copyright owners. Accordingly, we are asking the U.S. Courts of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit to review this decision. So what they don't want is they don't want to have to keep digging into their pockets to pay the people who have made the music. The 4 companies all filed within the court separately, but they're all teaming up to basically say, hey, this is not fun. Apple Music is apparently not planning an appeal. I love those P's that are just popping in my mouth. Let's rethink that. Let's rethink that. Okay. It's disgusting what I just said. I don't know if these stories are intrinsically tied to each other at any point, but one thing that when I was reading the court appeals for that Variety article is that I'm thinking is for Redigi to be able to resell these digital licenses shouldn't, and I don't know if this is how it works, but shouldn't the original songwriters be able to get a piece of that action? I know publishers, video game publishers, don't get the same amount of money if you buy a used game from GameStop or from some bookstore. They don't get the same amount of money back. I don't think they get. I think they have to get something, right? Isn't that possible? Isn't that possible? Isn't that what they have to get? This is from David Israelite, President and CEO of the National Music Publishers Association, the NMPA. He said, when the Music Modernization Act became law, there was hope. It signaled a new day of improved relations between digital music services and songwriters. That hope was snuffed out today when Spotify and Amazon decided to sue songwriters in a shameful attempt to cut their payments by nearly 1/3. No amount of insincere and hollow public relations gestures such as throwing parties or buying billboards of congratulations or naming songwriters geniuses can hide the fact that so blah, blah, blah. So he's, again, on the side, obviously working for a music press. Music organization. He is on the side of the songwriters, the people that create the music, the people who should be paid and rewarded for the music. This is why we have songwriters, especially rappers, going out on multiple tour dates and selling, God knows how many tickets for a stadium or some whatever concert venue, what have you, and then them selling $75 sweatshirt merch. I said merch. So they're selling all this. There's so much football going on. So many trades. I'm just getting all these notifications. So with all that said, you got to be on the side of the songwriters. Tickets for a show, that's how Elton John will make his money. He used to be able to, and I only say Elton John because his is the current tour. His farewell tour has been going on for a year now, and he's going to go on for one more year. He's coming back to Atlanta. I'm so excited. I would love to see Elton John live. That'd be so interesting. So fun. It's this appeal is bad, and let music writers have their money. So maybe they can. So maybe that we. And it's so weird because Billboard had to rejigger how they count. Rejigger is a word you never hear, unless you're me. But they have to change the way that they count regular album sales. Every 1,300 is one every 1,300 streams is one sale now, because people aren't buying physical units anymore. Everybody's on the side of the songwriters. But these people also didn't say, so they said something about Spotify and Amazon, but they didn't mention Google or Pandora, although it's not clear. This is from Variety still. Although it's not clear if they knew that at the time of those statements where services are joining Spotify and Amazon. Okay, yeah. So speaking of Spotify, they are also in the bad music press news. They set up an antitrust case against Apple over their Apple tax. This is from The Verge, James Vincent. The streaming service says Apple's 30% cut is stifling innovation and limiting consumer choice. Spotify announced this morning that it's filed an antitrust complaint. Jesus Christ. Against Apple with the European Union, alleging that the iPhone maker is harming consumer choice and stifling innovation via the rules it enforces on the App Store. As Spotify CEO Daniel Ek outlined in a blog post, the company is particularly annoyed about the 30% cut Apple takes from subscriptions made via the App Store. So essentially, this is why people don't put subscriptions on. Okay, let me give you a better note. This is why Netflix said if you have their app and you want to be a new subscriber to them, then you have to subscribe on Netflix proper, or it takes you to the website. You can't subscribe on the app because any purchase made inside the app is going to give 70% to the creator and 30% to Apple, no matter what. I think Android, Google, they do the same, but I think it's maybe like 10%. Don't quote me on that. But Apple, 30% is a significant chunk. If you make $100 and then Apple takes 30 and you take 70, it just doesn't look like it makes sense for anybody. So blow that up to bigger proportions, right? X says that if Spotify pays the cut, it has to artificially artificially inflate its prices well above the price of Apple Music. So in order for them to be able to make back the money that they're losing, they'll basically, I don't know how to spell it out, but I'm trying to vamp here. They'll be charging $12 or $13, $12.99 instead of their $9.99 in order to make back the money that Apple's taking away. But if you don't pay that tax, Apple applies, quote, a series of technical and experience limiting restrictions that make Spotify an inferior experience. So that means, I don't know what that means. Maybe they can't slow it down. The app's already on your phone. Eck also notes, quote, Apple routinely blocks our experience-enhancing upgrades. Oh, so they can slow down your upgrade process, whatever. So if there's a game-breaking bug, an app-breaking bug, in the latest update, then they will take forever for you. When you put in your update for certification, they're going to take forever for that. Including locking Spotify and other competitors out of Apple services like Siri, HomePod, and Apple Watch. Oh, wow. It's very interesting. They've got so many things in there. Elizabeth Warren's mentioned. Warren also, she talked smack about Amazon, Google, and Facebook. To be broken up. Because these companies are getting. So this person is also going into companies being so big and be able to do things like this. So one of the biggest ideas that was brought up in recent memory was that, this happened last week, Elizabeth Warren said that she wanted to break up big companies, Apple, Facebook, Google, and Amazon, because they're gigantic and they're essentially creating monopolies to do all these things. Amazon, it has Amazon Web Services, and a large percent of the internet runs on Amazon Web Services. IGN, Twitter, Netflix, all of these things run on Amazon Web Services. That's a cloud client that hosts everything. Facebook's got all this privacy issues. Google, even though Alphabet broke up Google, or even though Google turned itself into Alphabet, and then Alphabet broke up into Google and YouTube and all these other and Waymo and all these other things, it's still the same company, still too big. Apple, of course, has 14 billion in reserves or something like that. I don't know. In cash in reserves. Imagine being Tim Apple. And that's if you have not been watching the news for the past week, as a reference. It's very funny. Imagine being Tim Apple and having a black card and saying, I got this, don't worry. I'm sure it's not a black card, but it's very funny. I think it's a very funny idea. So this is again in the EU, and there's no clue how far it will go. In 2017, Google was fined 2.4 billion euros for complaints, related to its shopping business. And in 2018, it was fined 4.3 billion euros for complaints about stifling competition in Android. That's what happens, this anti-competitive nature. Speaking of which, I do talk about mergers on this week's News Time, so you should check it out. And there's a lot of anti-competitiveness because of AT&T and Warner Media. And AT&T used to be huge, and then it was so big that they were afraid, that the government was afraid of anti-competitive natures. And streamers, streamers appeal. Why do I have two different articles? Spotify responds to its position on the royalty increase. Continue on the Spotify thing. Oh, here's the original article. Yeah, that's fine. So you can definitely check that out. That's the link to the original article. As if you can see my laptop screen. And this last one comes from Variety. Same thing. Spotify responds to the royalty appeal criticism. We're not suing songwriters. They just want their money, baby. Okay. So of course, I remember if the U.S. Copyright Royalty Board ruling goes for the songwriters and all the musicians and all that stuff, they will increase payouts by 44% from Google, Amazon, Pandora, and Spotify. In a blog post, the streaming giant insisted that, this comes from Variety, Jim Aswad. In a blog post, the streaming giant insisted that it is not suing songwriters. It does believe they should be paid more than they currently are, and that its issue is primarily with the quote-unquote complex CRB rate structure, the significant laws, that's in quotes again, in the way it was set. The response from certain quarters of the industry has been ferocious. That's when I talked about the other stuff. Okay, so then the company also said in the U.S., the royalty rates for publishing rights for digital music services are determined by a panel of judges, which is the CRB, the Copyright Royalty Board. The rates are also create a reference point for services that don't rely on the government set rates, and they indirectly influence the ways that publishing license rates work around the world. The CRB recently came to a conclusion about how these rights and rates would work for the next few years, and we appealed the outcome. They put up an FAQ in this blog post. We're almost done, I promise. This is very boring for a lot of people. For a lot of people. As if I have thousands of listeners. Sub 100. Here's the first FAQ. Is Spotify suing songwriters? No. Which is true. They're not suing songwriters. There's a whole explanation, but I'm not reading this out. Does Spotify think songwriters deserve to be paid more? Yes. Do you support the CRB rates? Here's the answer. We are supportive of U.S. effective rates rising to 15% between now and 2022 so they can cover their hides. Remember, Spotify, I think I talked about this a couple of months ago, or last month, or in January. Spotify has officially become cash rich. They're in the green. They're one of the few streaming services, period, music or video, that is able to get its finances in order. That is a quote from the Jimmy Pardo podcast, Never Not Funny. One of the only few to get its finances in order, which is very good for them. Again, Netflix is $8 billion in the hole, something like that. Hulu's cash poor. Amazon's, I don't know. Actually, I don't know about Amazon, but all the other streamers are not doing so well. Every app, Uber, cash poor, I believe. Lyft. Robinhood? I don't know. They took my money for Blue Apron and I lost all that money because Blue Apron is trash. HelloFresh. I need a sponsor. That camera's probably done. So HelloFresh. Okay. But look at how they 2022. That's 4 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 3 years from now. It's 3 years from now. They want a gentle increase. I think it's at 12% now. Don't quote me on that. Again, I don't know how much this stuff is. Provided they cover the right scope of publishing rights, but the CRB's 15% rate doesn't account for all these rights. For example, it doesn't consider the cost of rights for videos and lyrics. They gave one example. It's like a child writing a high school paper. For example, and they give one example. The end. I like this because it makes me feel good. I always think about this. I always think about the writing back when I was a teenager was so poor. It was so bad. And I wanted to be a writer, and it was so bad. But, writing a school paper is way different from writing a TV show or writing a book or whatever. It was so interesting how, and then, people who don't go on to be writers or do anything, academic. And I don't mean academic like, go to college, but I mean like, who read. I don't read. You see 2 books on my nightstand. I started those. I restarted one of them last night. What am I saying? But a lot of people who don't, and I don't mean like academic, like they don't go to college or anything. Like I just said that. I mean academic, like they don't read, or they don't see how they don't write constantly. You can go on Reddit or Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and you see people all write the same. It's very interesting. It's not interesting at all, but it's very interesting to see that on the internet, how everybody writes the same. And it's our society has been dumbing down. You can be as smart as anything, but they're dumbing down the way they talk, and it's very apparent. And I noticed this. And it's, they all write something along the lines of what I just said, this is my paper for science. I wrote it because we had to, and they do things like that, and it's written like that. Whereas you don't flower it up, fluff it up a little bit. I think it's very interesting to see. Everybody just kind of they get to this high school English level, and then they stop. They say, "This is enough English for me." I am done. I'm not saying you have to educate yourself by reading English books or anything. I'm just saying that it's very, very worthwhile to check that out. This is a long episode, 40 minutes. My God. So let's get back to this FAQ. So why is Spotify appealing? This is their answer. The CRB rate structure is complex, and there were significant flaws in how it was set. A key area of focus in our appeal will be the fact that the CRB's decision makes it difficult for music services to offer bundles of music and non-music offerings. This will hurt consumers who will lose access to them. These bundles are key to attracting first-time music subscribers so we can keep growing the revenue pie for everyone. I think this is in reference to, this is what popped up in my head. Spotify's they're starting music videos, or they have started music videos. They've been posting them on the app, and they're I think the desktop as well. But you can watch music videos, and I think they have lyric videos as well. And I think that's in reference to them, this appeal, or that answer is in reference to them having to pay for the video. Would that make sense, right? They said CRB's decision makes it difficult for music services to offer bundles of music and non-music offerings. Makes it difficult to offer bundles of music. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. That's the only thing that's because that's what they offer. They offer music videos, music, and podcasts. And then also bands like, I got an email from Disclosure via Spotify this morning, and they gave me dates to their most recent shows in Atlanta, Orlando, Nashville, all the places that they're coming to in August or something like that. Why would I ever go to a Disclosure show? Like, I want to see Latch live. You make my heart, and they go, get people in the back. Oh my God. And then and then it starts playing again. People like very crazy. That's a stupid joke. So what's the right way to split the pie? Spotify offers an answer. Music services, artists, songwriters, and all other rights holders share the same revenue stream, and it's natural for everyone to want a bigger piece of that pie, but that cannot come at the expense of continuing to grow the industry via streaming. Let's pause right there. Music services, artists, songwriters, and all other rights holders share the same revenue stream. Okay? And it's natural for everyone to want a bigger piece of pie, but that cannot come at the expense of continuing to grow the industry via streaming. Well, streaming is the only way people are getting access to music. No one can afford to go to a concert every time. I would love to go see Young Dolph when he comes to Atlanta. I chose Young Dolph for some reason. I would love to go see Young Dolph. But, or let's go 2 Chainz. Let's say 2 Chainz. He's a more popular rapper people like. I'd love to go see 2 Chainz. But if his last concert when he was here, I think it cost like $60, $80, and I just didn't have the money. So people can't go to a show. Let's see, watching music video, that's great, but you can't watch a music video at the gym or while you're biking or while you're driving. And if you do, that's dangerous, guys or girls or whatever you want to be. It's very inappropriate. So streaming and essentially CD sales or whoever, or vinyl sales, that is the way that people enjoy music. That's just how they do music now. And even then, you can still have YouTube music and you can play a slew on your TV and have a slew of music videos going through, cycling through, whatever it's playing. There's just a lot of ways to enjoy music, and the easiest way is via streaming. And if you really like a song, if you really like a band, you're going to support them and you're going to buy their album. When Kanye's last album came out, Yeezy, first of all, I thought it was going to be just like St. Pablo and only be on sale. Like I thought it was not going to be streaming. And so I bought it. It was $8. I bought it. Turns out it was streaming. Whatever. Who cares? It was $8. I care. I need that money now. But somebody please hire me. I do great podcasts. But like I said, streaming is the only way to do that. I lose my train of thought every time I go off on these weird tangents. Let's continue. The CRB judges set the new publishing rates by assuming that record labels would react by reducing their licensing fees, but their assumption is incorrect. However, we are willing to support an increase in songwriter royalties provided the license encompasses the right scope of publishing rights. I want to get that sentence. The CRB judges set the new publishing rates by assuming that record labels would react by reducing their licensing rates. Does that mean, an example, a show, Girls, or Insecure? Let's go Insecure. Insecure needs a song for a scene. They go to, I don't know, Bad Boy Productions. I couldn't think. They go to Diddy's Bad Boy Productions. Or whatever it's called. They're like, Diddy, we need a song. Diddy, can we take Hello, Good Morning? Diddy, please. We need to use Hello, Good Morning in this scene. And Diddy says, okay, we'll give it to you for $10. It's obviously not that much, or that little, that much. We'll give it to you for $10. Or say, hey, can we purchase it for $10? But they want the money to be lower or higher, right? Reducing their licensing rates. So yeah. So let's say $100. It costs $100, and Dave's like, give me that money. I need to throw more white parties. So many weird references. Dave's like, I want to throw some more white parties. And then, but the CRB is suggesting that instead of paying $100, again, we're going down to 70. Taking away that $30. I don't know. I don't know how that works. 28 minutes on this part. Jesus. Okay. But Spotify again said they're open to support an increase in songwriter royalties provided the license encompasses the right scope of publishing rights. I don't understand that last part, but not the however part, the reducing their licensing rates. I don't understand that, but it's very interesting to see. Okay, so Mr. Israelite from the previous article and emailed a statement that reads in part. This is what he said. This guy's really mad. Wow, I didn't think Spotify could sink much lower, but they have. This statement is one giant lie. The CRB ordered a rate increase for songwriters. Spotify is against it. It really is that simple. Okay. So there we go. That's it. That's it for that. That's very interesting that Spotify, Spotify is the only one. I think now that they have some money and some power, and I think that they're the top streamer, probably. I would say as much. They're the top streamer. They have all this money, this power, and they are now dealing with what happens when you get all the money and the power. People want your money and your power. I've never had money or power, so very close to neither of those. Wouldn't it be great? But it's interesting. Songwriters should get paid, as should their producers, as should everybody on their teams. But songwriters, most importantly, should get paid. And the only way for them to do that now is, again, I've said, is expensive shows. That's why people go on tour for such a long time. But there's no but here. And they have to think of any avenue to get it. Nicki Minaj, Travis Scott, and a bunch of other rappers, when they sell tickets to their shows, they often do these packages where instead of paying, $80 for a ticket, you pay $160. You get a T-shirt, a poster, you get the ticket, you get all that. You get the ticket plus a T-shirt, a poster, maybe some socks. I don't know, but you're paying a premium in order to get all the stuff because you're a real fan, and then you're also going to be paying them more money. They're going to see more money versus. They see more money. You heard Astroworld. You're like, great, I like Astroworld. You didn't buy it. You just listened to it on Spotify, and they're getting 10 cents for every listen. For every 1,000 listens. So this is the way to support them. And any solid person should want their favorite people to get paid. That's why Taylor Swift teamed up with Ticketmaster, and like only the real fans could purchase tickets before all the other fans when her last tour happened. I know I signed up. I went on her website. I signed up. I had to sign up via Ticketmaster just so I could purchase the tickets. Went on her website, signed up via Ticketmaster. Made it a TaylorSwift.com account or whatever fan club account. Who cares? And then with that, if you tweet a certain amount, if you Facebook a certain amount, if you like some things, if you buy some products from her store, then it gives you, this is so stupid, a rank. And you move up that rank, you're like, it's getting XP for a Pokemon trainer. To put it in terms that only 7 people will like, it's like gaining XP for a Pokemon trainer. Every time you take a Pokemon in battle, when you win, it gains experience and it has a chance to level up and evolve. And that's what I was, a Taylor Swift Pokemon. But yeah. So then when the day finally came, I was in a certain group of people to purchase tickets. I think U2 did the same thing. I only say that because those were the last 2 concerts I went to. Any users. That's it. That's it for this episode of the Constitutionals Podcast. Listen, if you like what you heard here, if you like what you saw, head on over to the to the website. I just winked at myself on the camera and felt very uncomfortable. I should apologize to all the women in my life. Every woman I've ever spoken to. Head on over to the website, cpluscomedy.com. cpluscomedy.com. It looks nice. That's it. That holds everything. Head on over to youtube.com/cpluscomedy to see a video version of the show. I just looked at that camera as if it was on. It's not. Head over to youtube.com and /cpluscomedy to see a video version of the show. Also see the news time. Like I said, daily show, but less funny. This week's episode, spoken about it, is about mergers, AT&T and Time Warner's merger. Next week, we will get into the Disney-Fox merger. It should be ending on Tuesday at midnight, at 12:02, excuse me. 12:02, it's ending. Midnight 02. Yes, 2 minutes past midnight. Very strange, but that's how the merger goes through. Again, 4,000 jobs will be lost, but hey, Star-Lord gets to meet Wolverine and Mickey Mouse. Or Mickey Mouse gets to meet the Fantastic Four. Great. Follow us on Twitter at C Plus Comedy and Instagram at C Plus Comedy for me. Twitter at Chad Black White. Instagram at Chad Black White. Like us on Facebook. Thank you so much for listening. This is episode 100, and I hope there's at least 100 more. I hope I get at least 100 times more listeners. Wouldn't it be sad if I kept doing? Oh God, I even want to float that idea. Kept doing this for the dozens of people that listen to this crappy show. At least it's I'll stop talking. Okay, thank you for listening and watching. I love you. Bye. I mean, I don't love you. I like you a lot. I'll say I love you for one person. Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Okay, bye. So stupid.